Hi, you're welcome to another episode of Let's Do Life with Atilola. I'm so excited. I'm always excited, right? I'm so excited to be here once again talking to you, and today is going to be my final episode on the homeschooling series for now, because it's possible I just see something, like somebody just says something in the comment section, and I just pick that up and I decide that I want to talk about it. But right now, we have come to the conclusion or the conclusive episode of this series, and I'm going to be talking about the advantages homeschooling has over traditional schooling. We all know the advantages of traditional schooling. You get to meet people, you get to have fun, you get to play with friends, you get to learn, you get to have teachers, you get so many things, you get exposure. But what are the advantages homeschooling has over traditional schooling? And I'm going to be talking about these from my own perspective, because number one, there are different kinds of homeschooling. So I'm going to be talking about it from my own perspective in my own geographical location, because homeschooling in the UK can be different from homeschooling in the US, can be different from homeschooling in Nigeria, can be different from homeschooling in Canada. There are so many variables when it comes to homeschooling. So it's not one size fits all. And as I said, I'm going to be talking about the advantages from my own variable, from my own perspective. The first major advantage is that you are the primary influencer of your child. Like, this is what a lot of parents will kill for, will die for, will live for, will anything for, to be the primary influencers of their children. So when you have your child, the child is, maybe by the time the child is 2, 3 or 4 years old, depending on the age children go to school in your country, you ship off your child, and from that moment on, you cease to become the primary influencer of the children. We have teachers, we have students, we have environments that you have no, influence over, you have, and yourself. There is a mix of so many things that becomes the influencing factor in your children's life. But as a homeschooling person, you are the primary influencer. You control what you want your child to see. You influence the environment. In traditional schooling, you cannot influence the environment. You cannot influence, and I'm not talking of even the teaching, the things that the children, your child is exposed to, the teachers' languages, the children's languages. Every single thing is something that you don't have any control over and you cannot influence. But as a homeschooling parent, you can influence who comes into the environment, who the child minder is, who the teacher is if you're not the teacher, who your spouse is, every single thing, what is in the environment, what kind of books are in the environment, what kind of music is being played in the environment. Every single thing can be controlled and influenced by you, and then you become the primary influencer of your child till the child is an adult and decides that they want to make their own decisions. Now, the second advantage is that you have a lot more control over the curriculum. This is very different from the first point, because we are now talking about directly what the child is being taught. Sometimes influence can come subtly, you are not aware, but what is being taught, everybody knows this is what we are teaching, this is the curriculum, and that one is more direct, and then you have control over the curriculum. You might not be able to be the one to create the curriculum, but you have more control. You can say, okay, I don't want my children being taught this. I don't want you to use this particular book. This particular book doesn't align with my values. I don't want this. I want this. And you can basically mix and match what is being taught to your child when you are homeschooling the child. There's been a lot of controversies about people, writing bills, going to the Senate saying that we don't want this being taught to our children. These things are being sneaked into our children's libraries and all those things. As a homeschooling parent, you don't have, that's not your problem. You have other fish to fry, not about the curriculum that is being taught. Now, this one is something I've noticed in many homeschooled children. Most times, in most of the cases, the homeschool children come out more intelligent, and I'm going to tell you why. Because people wonder, how is it that homeschooling children are always come out more intelligent than traditional school children is because in the case of homeschooling, there's that one-on-one teaching contact between the teacher, whoever the teacher is, and the child. Unlike in traditional school where the child is subjected to the group learning, the group form of learning, and then they have to go at the pace or the general pace as other children. If the child wants to fly, they cannot allow the child fly because other children are not flying, and the child needs to be slowed down because he's not learning. Then you see the child struggling to move, and then apart from the fact that the child is now struggling in that particular area, the child now begins to struggle in other areas because he or she is struggling in one area. So you find that because of that, the homeschooling children are more intelligent because they are the ones who lead. They are the ones who tell you, now it's time to move to the next pace. I'm done with this learning. Even though they don't say it, you can tell, oh, this child is done. I cannot move to the next phase. I cannot move to the next phase. So they lead the teachers rather than the teachers leading them, as is in the case of traditional schooling. So I noticed something when we were younger, because when I was younger, all my life, I learned through a hybrid method. So basically, traditional schooling during the day and homeschooling in the evening or after school. So you basically have teachers waiting for you. And it's been that way all my life. I remember rebelling when in my final year, when I was about to write my final exams in high school, I was like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of these lessons and everything. But all my life, I had my own teachers, my own private teachers at home. So private teaching on this side of the world is nothing new. But some people use it to, give the weak children extra lessons. But that was not the case in my own case, where I was being used to basically augment the teaching that I was getting at school. And then many children that have such kind of hybrid schooling systems also come out very intelligent. I know of a girl who went viral sometime 3 years ago. During the lockdown, she went viral because she got like 9 scholarships or 7. No, she went viral because she was just acing all her exams all over the world. But because I know I have like a relationship with the girls' environment and the parents, and I know her basically, she got full scholarships into like 8 schools or so or more. Full scholarship, like schools were basically fighting to have her because she was this good. And she had a hybrid schooling system also. Even though she went to a traditional school, she came home, she's a child of a professor and a working class father, and then they just basically poured their whole lives into this girl and her sister. And then she was acing everything because that one-on-one teaching, that thing is gold, which the traditional school system cannot offer. They cannot offer one-on-one teaching to your child because your child is just an exceptional child. No, you will need to give that to your child separately, and homeschooling does that, and then they're able to come out more intelligent in most cases. Another advantage in my own perspective and many other people's perspective is that it's cheaper than the traditional school system. So where I am right now, the governmental education or the public education system is not very good. It's not very strong. So it's basically the lower class that cannot afford the private schooling system that go to public schools, that go to government schools. In the state where I am, it's really good. Like the state education is good, but the federal education system has like totally collapsed. So everybody is having to go to private schools, and private schools are very expensive where I am. But you have no choice because you cannot take your children to the public schools. So you have to go to the private schools, and then the private schools are very expensive, so expensive. And then you just say, I'm going to have just 2 children. I'm going to have just 3 children, or all the money I have, I'll just use it to send my children to school because my children have to go to school. But when it comes to homeschooling, all that cost, all that money is gone. You cut it out. Without shortchanging the teachers. It also depends on the kind of homeschooling system that you choose to adopt. Now, in my own case, we have 3 teachers, 2 private teachers, one-on-one teachers, and a piano teacher. that teach my children, and then what they earn from us and earn from the other jobs, like the other teaching jobs they do, is far more than what they would have earned if they were working in school. But we pay less than if we would have gone to school. That's just the truth. And how does this work? We pay them on a monthly basis, my own teachers, and then like my first son's teacher, we pay her on a monthly basis, and then she has another school that she goes to. That's another homeschooling child who is a traditional schooling child, but then she does the homeschooling for him and everything. And then by the time she collects this one and collects that, what she gets on a monthly basis is more than what she would have gotten if she were in school. And we don't pressure her that much. And then the one that's teaching my younger child has a business, so she teaches him and goes to her business, and then she's making more money than she would have made if she were in school. She used to be a full-time teacher. She resigned last year and she set up her business, but she even dropped one of the children, but she retained my own second child because she used to teach my first child before, and then she moved to the second child while my first child moved to another teacher. So they earn more homeschooling, but we pay less because we pay per month. We pay for the two children, and what we would have paid for all of them in combination is not even 30%. What am I saying? It's not even 20% of what we would have paid if we went to one of these expensive schools and everything. So we cut off all that cost. Now, something I want to add to this point of homeschooling system being cheaper than the traditional schooling system is also the fact that many parents homeschool themselves. So they don't even have to pay for teachers the way I pay for teachers. So many homeschooling parents, they homeschool themselves. So they get rid of those costs totally, and then everything is on them. But I know somebody that said homeschooling can be expensive because they invest in all these expensive homeschooling materials, the volcanoes, so many things. That's not my own reality. That can be the reality of some people. Some people go and spend money on expensive travels. They go to hotels, they go to zoos, they go to parks, they go to places, and that consumes all the money that they would have saved from homeschooling. And if it works for them, then it's fine for them. But that's not the homeschooling system I am adopting. I find other ways to give my children exposure. Not even just me, my husband and I, we find other ways. It can be a trip and all of us are on vacation, and it's not a special vacation because of homeschooling and all those things. We find other ways. So it's about what works for you, because my friend Cuddle Blog, or the Cuddle Blog, she goes to a lot of places. I know she invests in a lot of materials. So I don't know whether for her homeschooling is more expensive or is cheaper. But from my own perspective and from the perspective of so many other parents, homeschooling is actually more affordable and cheaper than traditional schooling. Now, the next advantage is that you get rid of unnecessary over-bloated costs. Gosh, if you are in my side of town, you will know what I mean. You're talking of people like at the beginning of the term, especially at the beginning of the year, you pay for uniforms, you pay for computers that the children never even get to play with or use because they have computers in the house. You pay for sports, you pay for swimming, you pay for Christmas carol, you pay for socials, you pay for things that they just put and they never use. When my first child was in school, there was this thing they said he was going to pay for computer. I didn't even see because I paid for it, and they put computer. This child was 2 years old when he started school, and then by the time I was talking about this fee, he was 3 years old. They're like, it's paid for computer. So when I went to the school the next term, I told them to refund me that money because they said they were going to pay. He was going to pay for computer, so they will send the login details to me, and they will be doing this. Is a 2-year-old child going into like almost 3 years old, and you're telling me he's paying for computer and everything. So I collected the money back. I deducted it from the next term fees. Trust me, because you cannot come and rip me up with things that are unnecessary. So I was looking through every line item and I was cancelling out things. I cancelled out everything. He paid for one t-shirt which he never wore. They said it was for his carol, and this is a small child. And trust me, there are more ridiculous fees than all those things. So as a homeschooling parents, you get rid of all those things, and then you also have control. If you want your child to learn piano, you pay for the piano yourself. You want your child to learn swimming, you pay for the swimming yourself, and it's always more reasonable than all those things that those schools put in their own bill. And also you get rid of all those things, and you have control over what you pay for, what you don't pay for, and people don't scam you unnecessarily. Let me know in this episode which one sticks out to you. Let me know in this episode which one sticks out to you, which one you would love to explore. If you are a homeschooling mom, let me know which ones you agree with, which one you don't agree with. If you are not homeschooling, let me know if you consider homeschooling. If just let me know your comments. Let me ask questions. I'll be so glad to answer your questions. Please share this video and like it so that people will see it. Also subscribe and click on the notification bell, because we are giving you wholesome content that you will not be able to get anywhere in this kind of manner. I'm giving you wholesome content, so please also let me know what you feel. Share, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, take all the actions that you can take below this video, please. Bye.